But we have to talk about this. This is absolutely embarrassing from ESPN. So this is ESPN at the ESPYs. This is the ESPYs from Shane Gillis. Let's take a listen. I can't show a clip just for copyright reasons. Let's take a listen to what he said.
When Caitlin Clark retires from the WNBA, she's going to work at a Waffle House so she can continue doing what she loves most, fist-fighting black women.
What?
ESPN. Caitlin Clark just got left out, and fans snapped. And I'm going to promise you something up front. If you stay to the end, I'm going to give you a simple 3-signal checklist that predicts when a small Caitlin moment is about to turn into a full-blown league-wide firestorm before it floods your feed, because this story looks tiny on the surface. But it hits the exact nerve that makes people go from calm to furious in about 10 seconds. Here's what happened. Indiana Fever jumped on the 2016 throwback trend. You've seen it everywhere. Teams posting old photos, old uniforms, old moments. It's meant to be harmless nostalgia. But the Fever posted their 2016 throwbacks, and Caitlin Clark wasn't in it. Now, in a normal universe, that's a shrug. In the Caitlin Clark universe, that's a match to dry grass. Because the fans don't process it as oops. They process it as there it is again.
Look like Caitlin Clark takes to social media and calls out ESPN. Now, there's a lot of stuff that is going on behind the scenes in regards to Caitlin Clark, potentially being on the roster, not being on the roster, which I'm going to do that in a whole nother video. But we have to talk about this because a lot of people have been saying that Caitlin Clark been kind of weak, not standing on business. She's just been letting the league and networks say whatever about her and all these different things. Well, I'm here to tell you, there's a new day and age. There's a new time. And Caitlin Clark standing on big business. Want to know why Caitlin Clark standing on big business? She got big business teammates.
The omission, the avoiding, the subtle message that she's not meant to be the center of the story, even when she's the center of the attention. And Caitlin herself notices. She comments, simple, sharp, can't be got. That line alone is why this popped. Because it reads like, you tried to do a trend, and somehow you still missed the biggest name on your own roster. Then the Fever reply back, basically saying, we looked, we scrolled. We didn't have a proper 2016 throwback to use. And that explanation might even be true. In 2016, Caitlin was a teenager. She wasn't a pro. There isn't a clean WNBA throwback to post, because she wasn't in the league. Therefore, the technical explanation is reasonable, but that is not how the internet works. The internet doesn't reward reasonable. The internet rewards emotion. And the emotion here is simple. How do you miss her? How do you post a trend that is literally about memories and not include the player who is currently driving the most attention your franchise has ever had? And the reaction wasn't just annoyance, it was personal. Because this taps into the biggest fear Caitlin fans have right now. That the league will do everything it can to control her without ever fully embracing her. That they'll take the benefits, but won't give the credit. That they'll celebrate growth, but won't say her name. And if you think that's dramatic, listen to what happened next. Because this wasn't just one left out moment. This week had a second one. The WNBA Players Association put out messaging around attendance, momentum, the league growing. But fans noticed something they always notice. The language, the framing, who gets highlighted, who gets thanked, who gets named. And Caitlin's name wasn't there the way fans expected it to be. Now, I'm not saying every post is a conspiracy, but I am saying perception is reality online. And to the average fan, especially the casual fan, it looks like this. The league is happy to cash the checks, but it's uncomfortable giving one person too much credit. Therefore, the left out moment stops being about a social media trend. It becomes a symbol, and symbols are dangerous because they spread faster than facts. Here's the deeper reason this blew up. Omissions hit harder than insults. If someone insults Caitlin, fans argue, they defend, they throw stats. But when you omit her, it feels like you're trying to erase her. And that triggers something primal in people. It triggers injustice. it triggers betrayal. It triggers the feeling of, you're using us. Because Caitlyn isn't just a player at this point, she's a movement. And movements don't like being managed. But let's be fair for a second, Caitlyn's second season didn't go the way anyone expected. Injuries slowed her down, limited games, derailment, and that should have cooled down the attention, right? No. It did the opposite. Because when she's not playing, the conversation fills the gap. Fans don't go quiet, they get louder. They start scanning for signals. They start watching how the league talks about her when she's not on the court forcing the story. Therefore, every small omission becomes a test of respect, a test of intent, a test of whether the league really understands what it's holding. But here's where it gets even more important. Because while all this is happening inside the WNBA ecosystem, outside of it, the machine is moving in the opposite direction. Team USA 2026 talk is already building, and Caitlin Clark and Paige Buchers are right at the center of those storylines. That's the interesting contrast. Out inside the day-to-day WNBA discourse, you get these moments where fans feel like she's being minimized. But on the global stage, the future is being framed around her generation. And when fans see that contrast, it intensifies everything, because it tells them the world sees it. So why doesn't the league fully embrace it? That's the question that keeps lighting fires. And that's why you should take this seriously if you're a creator, a fan, or even someone who only watches headlines. This isn't just drama, it's leverage. Because attention is currency. And Caitlyn is an attention magnet. So when a brand or an institution looks like it's downplaying the biggest magnet, it doesn't shrink the magnet. It makes the audience suspicious. It makes them defensive. It makes them feel like they have to fight for her. Therefore, the reaction becomes bigger than the original action. And that's the loop. Small omission, but big backlash, and bigger headlines, and more attention, more tension. But here's the part people miss. These blow-ups don't happen randomly, that they follow a pattern. And this is the payoff I promised you. If you want to predict the next Caitlyn firestorm before it happens, look for these 3 signals. Signal number 1, a public omission where she should be present. A graphic, a highlight reel, a promo, a list, a trend post. It doesn't have to be malicious, it just has to be visible, because the moment it's visible, it becomes screenshot fuel. Signal number 2, a screenshotable reaction, a comment from Caitlyn, a teammate reply, a subtle clapback, a quote that can be reposted in one line. Because one clean line travels farther than a paragraph of explanation. Can't Be God is a perfect example. It's short, it's sharp, it's shareable. Signal number 3, a second institution echoes the omission vibe. This is the amplifier. A union post, a media segment, a brand graphic, a commentator framing it as disrespect or erasure. Once that happens, it stops being a single moment. It becomes a narrative. And narratives are what go viral. Therefore, when you see signal 1 plus signal 2 together, expect signal 3 to arrive fast. Sometimes within a day, sometimes within the week, and once all 3 signals show up in the same window, that's when fans snap. Because it confirms their biggest fear, that Caitlyn can drive the league. But the league still wants to control the story without giving her the center stage. But here's my final take. If the fever explanation is true, then this started as a simple content problem. No clean 2016 throwback, fine. But the reaction proves something more important. The league is no longer allowed to treat Caitlyn like an ordinary player in ordinary situations. Because she's not. Every post is interpreted. Every omission is analyzed. Every silence becomes a headline. Therefore, the smartest move for any team, any league account, any institution is simple. If Caitlyn is part of your world, act like it publicly. Because if you don't, the fans will fill the gap for you. And when fans fill the gap, they don't do it gently. They do it loudly, they do it emotionally, they do it in a way that forces everyone to pick a side.
Coach, you've been in the game for a long time. Have you seen anything like Caitlin Clark? I mean, we watch a lot of basketball. We dissect it all the time. I mean, what she's done in the last 2 games, it's almost bizarre. I don't even know what to say anymore. And I mean, today it's a different story, but have you seen anything like it?
Well, the closest, She hasn't done what you did. She hasn't done what you did. So, yeah, I've seen it before. I saw you do it. I saw you take 2 freshmen and 2 other kids that had never started a game before in their lives and win a national championship. Not single-handedly, but do the kind of heroic things that Caitlin is doing.
Listen, Gino's UConn just lost control of Caitlin Clark, and the money is moving with her. Because when UConn doesn't control the biggest star, they don't control the biggest checks. Stay to the end, because I'm going to give you the exact 3-step play Caitlin just ran. The play that flips power from coaches and programs to one player's gravity. Here's the real issue for UConn. For decades, UConn wasn't just winning games. UCNN was deciding what greatness looked like, who got crowned, who got promoted, who got the spotlight. And when you control the spotlight, you control the money. But Caitlin Clark didn't come through the UConn pipeline. She didn't need the UConn stamp. She didn't need the old approval system. She built a movement outside the gate. Therefore, this isn't just a basketball argument, it's an attention transfer. And attention is currency. Think about what the UConn brand really sells. It sells certainty. If you want the biggest stage, you come here. If you want the biggest legacy, you come here. If you want the biggest media push, you come here. But Caitlin proved a different pathway exists. Be undeniable. Build a fan base that follows you anywhere. Force networks, sponsors, and headlines to orbit you. That blueprint is terrifying for a program built on being the default choice. Because once default stops being necessary, it stops being valuable. Now picture this from Gino's side. You build the cathedral, you win titles, you create legends, you become the voice that defines the sport. But suddenly the crowd is gathering outside the cathedral, not because you failed. Because one player created a bigger event than the institution. That's what Caitlin represents. An economic event. When Caitlin's name shows up, ticket prices react. When her name shows up, TV schedules shift. When her name shows up, debates explode. And when debates explode, engagement spikes. And when engagement spikes, money follows. That's not hype, that's modern sports. So when people say Gino versus Caitlin, they're missing the real fight. The real fight is, who owns the attention economy of women's basketball? For a long time, the owners were institutions, blue blood programs, legendary coaches, legacy media. They set the agenda and everyone else reacted. But Caitlin dragged the sport into the creator era, where the star's personal gravity can beat the institution's history. And once you enter that era, a coach can't command the spotlight. A coach can only respond to it. Legends hate responding. Legends want to set the terms, therefore you start seeing defensive language, the she's popular but talk, the system basketball talk, the fundamentals talk, the great player, not the best talk. Sometimes it's analysis, but a lot of the time it's a shield, because if you can't stop the player, you try to shrink the player. But Caitlin can't be shrunk because her power isn't just points, it's leverage. And leverage is what should worry UConn. Here's the domino effect, and if the biggest star doesn't need the biggest traditional program, what do recruits learn? They stop asking, which coach makes me great? They start asking, which path makes me unavoidable? That question kills old empires slowly, not overnight, but quietly, with every decision that moves away from the old gatekeepers. And yes, UConn will still recruit. UCNN will still win games. But the fear is bigger than wins. The fear is relevance. Because relevance drives the biggest sponsorship conversations. Relevance drives national TV prioritization. Relevance drives cultural dominance. And Caitlin shifted relevance toward the individual star. Now here's where it gets even more uncomfortable. When one player holds that much attention, the entire ecosystem bends. Media coverage bends, league decisions bend, scheduling bends, even rivalries bend because everyone wants a piece of the energy. Therefore, even when Caitlin isn't playing, people still talk about her. When she returns, it becomes an event. And when it becomes an event, everyone else is forced to react. That's the part the old powers can't control. Now let's deliver the payoff I promised. The 3-step play Caitlyn ran is simple, and it's ruthless. Step 1. She detached from institutional approval. Caitlyn didn't wait to be anointed by the traditional kingmakers. She made the public crown her first, and public crowning is stronger than any program's endorsement. Step 2. She built leverage outside the institution. Instead of a program creating her value, she became the value. So opportunities didn't feel like invitations. They felt like people paying to access her gravity. That flips the power dynamic completely. Step 3. She proved she can say no and still win. This is the ultimate control test. If you can turn down a massive opportunity and still remain the center of the sport, you're not being managed. You're managing the market. And that's why the Geno/UConn machine feels threatened. Because once a player can say no and keep the spotlight, the gatekeepers lose their biggest weapon. So no, this isn't a petty feud, it's a power transfer. UConn's worst-case scenario isn't losing a game. It's becoming one of many great programs, in a sport where the stars don't need them to become icons. And the next generation is watching Caitlyn like a tutorial.
So it looked like the WNBA has officially sabotaged Caitlyn Clark and the Indiana Fever. This schedule is terrible.
If you're counting down to Caitlyn Clark's return, you might be watching the wrong clock. Because the biggest threat to seeing Caitlyn again isn't a defender. It isn't a slump. It isn't even rust. It's paperwork. And I know that sounds boring. But stay with me, because at the end, I'm going to give you the one signal that tells you Caitlyn's first game is actually locked in before the schedule even drops.
Ever since Caitlyn Clark has got into this league, it's always obstacle after obstacle for this young lady. And it's clear to me, and it should be clear to all of you guys, that there is a hidden agenda against Caitlyn Clark for her to be successful in the WNBA. Now, I know some of you guys is thinking, John, what do you mean is there a hidden agenda? Let's start with the first year.
Right now, fans are starving for Caitlyn Clark basketball. You can feel it. Every week without her, the internet gets louder. The clips get replayed, the arguments get sharper, and the anticipation gets more dangerous. Because anticipation doesn't just build hype, it builds pressure, and the WNBA is sitting on the most valuable thing it's had in years. But here's the scary part. While fans are waiting for Caitlyn to return to the court, the league is stuck in a freeze. ESPN has been reporting on it, and Reuters confirmed it in plain language. The WNBA and the Players Union agreed to a moratorium that basically pauses league business.
So y'all just gonna keep going, huh? Y'all just gonna keep going on being petty and petty nonstop. It's almost like y'all can't help it. Just as the WNBA puts out the schedule for the 2026 WNBA season without a CBA done, they had to put this schedule out for partners, for the arenas, for television networks, to know that, hey, we have a plan in order, even though we might be facing a damn lockout if these WNBA PA ladies don't get their head in the game.
No normal free agency, no normal movement, and no clean-off season. Therefore, everything gets delayed. And when everything gets delayed, the one thing fans want most becomes uncertain. That is how a comeback gets soft canceled. Not with an announcement, but with silence. Now zoom out. This isn't just a Caitlyn story, this is a league story. The collective bargaining agreement hit its deadline. No new deal. So the league entered what people keep calling status quo. That phrase sounds harmless. But status quo is where both sides keep negotiating.
Game. The WNBPA went to Instagram to slam the WNBA owners once again, man. This is beyond nasty work. Let's not play any games. Let's get right into things. Y'all knew this WNBA schedule. Make no mistake about it. The WNBPA knew the schedule was coming out today. They knew they knew it was coming out. What did they do? They said, we're going to get ahead of it. Before they can even put the schedule out, we are going to remind people that we would like them to stop playing games. We're still trying to win you guys over. We're still trying to play the social media game.
and either side can still pull the emergency lever. A strike, a lockout, a stoppage, even if nobody wants to do it. But in negotiations, you don't need chaos to happen. You only need the fear of chaos to change behavior. That's what we're watching right now, and it gets worse. Because 2026 isn't a normal season. The league is trying to expand. Portland and Toronto are coming into the picture. That means an expansion draft has to happen, free agency has to happen, the college draft has to happen. But all of that is connected to the labor deal. So if the deal drags, the entire offseason gets compressed. And when the offseason gets compressed, training camps get messy. Player prep gets messy, scheduling gets messy. Therefore, the product gets messy. And when the product gets messy, the league risks turning the Caitlin Clark moment into a frustration cycle.
So lads, I just looked at the Fever schedule. It is hell. Like, the Fever might have one of the weirdest schedules I have ever seen. Like, they genuinely have a gap. Like, if you look at this schedule, it's actually mad. So, they play a 5-game road trip with 5 games in 8 days, ending on a back-to-back to like near the end of the season.
Now I can already hear the pushback.
Relax. The season will happen.
Maybe. But the point isn't whether the season happens. The point is how close the league is willing to get to the edge. Because even a near miss is damaging. Sponsors get nervous, broadcasters get nervous, fans get exhausted. And Caitlin's return stops feeling like a celebration and starts feeling like a negotiation hostage.
What is going on, guys? What is going on? Like, y'all gotta stop this, man. Y'all have to stop this. This is insane. This is insanity. They cannot stop with the social media games, man. But the WNBA paid them no mind, as they've been paying them no mind as of late anyway. The WNBA has been paying these ladies no mind, bro. And I know they don't like it. They can't stand it. They want things done how they want them done.
Now let's talk about Caitlin herself. She's not out there playing unrivaled. That's been reported. So fans don't even get the off-season fix. No little teaser games, no casual warm-up runs, just waiting. Therefore, the first time she steps back into a real game will feel massive. But that also means the first time gets bigger stakes. If Caitlin's first appearance back is delayed, the anger won't spread evenly. It will land on the league. It will land on the union. It will land on anyone fans think is messing with the moment. And the truth is, Caitlin doesn't even need to say a word for this to explode. Because Caitlin has become a symbol. To some fans, she's the face of the league's future. To other fans, she's the lightning rod. But either way, when she's not on the floor, the conversation gets uglier. Now here's where the fear really kicks in. The schedule. People keep asking, when do we actually get the 2026 schedule? And it's complicated this year, because schedule timing is tied up with expansion planning and labor uncertainty. So fans are sitting there refreshing pages and seeing last season, or seeing nothing new. And when fans don't get certainty, they fill the gap. They don't fill it with patience. They fill it with conspiracy. They fill it with panic. They fill it with rage. Therefore, the longer the league stays quiet, the louder the internet gets. Now, there is a detail people should pay attention to. Players have been taking this seriously. Reports have said players have already voted to authorize a strike if necessary. Again, that doesn't mean it happens, but it means the threat is real enough that they prepared the button. So here's the big question. What does any of this mean for Caitlin Clark's return? It means her comeback isn't just about her body being ready, it's about the league being ready. And right now, the league is negotiating the rules of the next era while the audience is screaming for the next game. That is a dangerous place to live. But let's flip it, because this can also create the biggest Caitlin Clark moment yet. Think about what happens the instant the deal is done. Everything unfreezes at once. Free agency moves, expansion draft prep, draft plans, schedule release. It's like the league presses play after holding its breath. And when that happens, Caitlyn's return stops being a slow build and becomes an event. Now, I promised you a payoff. Here it is. If you want the real sign that Caitlyn's first game is actually locked in, don't watch rumors. Don't watch hot takes. Don't even watch the Fever schedule page first. Watch for one phrase in the next official wave of reporting: the moratorium is lifted. The day you see that, it means the deal is real enough that the league is letting teams move again. And once teams can move again, the off-season calendar starts snapping into place. Expansion draft timing becomes real. Free agency dates become real, and the schedule release becomes imminent. Therefore, Caitlyn's return goes from sometime in May to circle this week. That is the signal. Moratorium lifted equals the league clock starts. So if you're a Caitlyn Clark fan, that's your countdown. And if you're a creator, that's your trigger to hit publish fast, because the second the league unfreezes, the Caitlyn Clark content wave will be insane. If you're still watching, drop CC Countdown in the comments.